What's up, Andrew? How you
Hey,
doing, man?
Chris, how's it going, dude? Happy late January.
Yeah, it is late January, and you know what? It's a little late that we have a guest on today, and this is long overdue. Let's just put it that way. But
That's true.
sometimes things happen for a reason. This guy has actually, and not that he wasn't busy before the COVID lockdown, but somehow, some way, he found a way to be 10 times more busy, it seems, under lockdown. He's a true artist, finding a way to sort of thrive and make the most out of a terrible situation. Like we always talk about, we have guests like Howie on, Greg Shields. It's like out of dark times comes necessity to create and find a way around and to persevere. And this guy is the epitome of that. Before we bring our guest in here today, Andrew, who are we? What are we doing here? And what do we have in store for the listeners here today?
Oh, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Talkin with Andrew and Chris. I'm Andrew. The guy that was just talking was Chris. He's going to continue to be Chris as well, so that's exciting. Well, we're here. It's another episode. We talk about music, life, everything in between. This guy that we're about to talk to has done music. I assume he's lived a life, and he's done everything in between that as well.
Hopefully.
Um,
Seems well rounded at least.
and also, just to point out, one of the coolest venue runners I've personally ever met in my life. R.I.P. the Donk. We'll get into it. Um,
True. Ah,
but yeah,
good
if
times.
you're watching this on YouTube, thanks. What's going
Hmm.
on? Washed my hair for you.
Yeah, you can
Um,
find us on YouTube at Talkin Podcast. Talkin spelled Talkin, no G. We've had episodes on this podcast with the likes of John James Ryan, or as we know him, just John of Keep Flying, Howie Spangler of Ballyhoo, Dom Reed of Broadside, also Dom and Pat coming on the show again next month. Gonna be a banger. On top of so many more interviews, we've had Adobe Radio hosts, we've had borderline, pop sensations. Not just our friend Tyler, but we love him and we want to hype him up. Any chance
he
we can
signed to
get,
Sony. That's pretty cool.
he's the man, and we love him. So if you guys like sort of a casual music show where we talk about a little bit of everything around the topic of music, this is the place to be. We're also on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Breaker, Google Play, Overcast, Radio Public, and a whole slew of other places. And with that being said, Andrew, I think let's just get into it, man. I mean, this dude has
Yeah,
shown us
you
nothing
know,
but kindness.
it's funny. The only place that you didn't really mention that we are is a place that this guy seems to be living on, which is Twitch. So
Oh,
look out for
true.
us to be on Twitch soon. But while you're on Twitch, check this guy out.
Yeah.
Let's
So
just
this
bring
is
him
one
in,
of the
dude.
most this is one of the most talented guests I think that we've had on. One of the most multifaceted dudes in sort of like not only just the pop punk world. Listen, a lot of pop punkers don't really adopt technology that early. There's a bit of a dinosaur mentality there. He sort of has I think started a movement really, inside that community and is changing it for the better. Again, super talented dude. One half of the incredible duo called Shakeout, and I'll just let them describe themselves because they do a little bit of everything, and so does this guy, A.J Chiarella. Welcome to the show for the first time, man.
Yo, you guys are way too nice. Like I'm a dude that just lives in my basement and talks to the camera sometimes. Like,
Yeah, but you know what?
Nah,
There are
man.
listen, but there are plenty of people out there who are like, you know what? Today's the day I'm gonna set up my camera and talk to it, and then they don't, and you've been doing it.
yeah, I tried. I tried.
Exactly.
It's funny you said you had John. I've listened to your episode. You had John twice, right? If I remember.
Yep.
Yes.
Just John
I-
twice, yeah.
Yeah, I'm having him on my podcast later today.
Oh, very
La-
cool.
Yeah, later today he'll be on live on we're doing on Twitch.
Nice,
Nice. Well,
man.
tell
I'll
him
have
we
to
said
tune into
hello.
that.
I will. I will.
This is coming out on Wednesday, so the
Oh,
next
okay.
day after we record this. But go back and check out the replay. I assume it's going to be up somewhere, right?
Yeah, it'll be on all the streaming things on Friday, I think.
Perfect. So AJ, man,
Yep.
it's good to have you. We've known you for quite some time. We were the Identity Crisis band who knew how to book tours through the pop punk community, the hardcore community, which is where we've all met and come from, and go way back to so many different incarnations of bands over the years. But we
Yeah.
were sort of like the blues folk rock band that you were just so gracious enough to put us on ska and punk shows, and we've always appreciated that about you. You've always been a nice, welcoming guy. So sort of take us back to start off through your musical history. You grew up in Yonkers, which is a pretty populated area. You're still there, to my knowledge. And what was that kind of like? Because upstate, we had an awesome privilege, I'd say, of growing up with the legendary Chance Theater, having so many young people be interested in music, having a place to go on the weekends to sort of foster our love for music, play in bands, learn how to sort of interact and network in a polite, respectful way, as opposed to just like, give me a show, I'm here, right? I came to support you, now you got to support me. But it seems like we come down to Yonkers and you hear things about the city. They're rough, they're tumble, but you've always been warm and welcoming. So take us back, like all the way back, starting with your journey of sort of growing up on the border of New York City, the border of upstate, and just finding music, man.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, so I have two parents that are super about music. No one plays. I have no musicians in my family. But my dad brought me to a Kiss concert when I was 5 years old. My dad has seen Kiss over 60 times. So he brought me to a Kiss concert when I was 5 years old. Gene Simmons makeup, whole 9 yards. Like I went to the Kiss.
Have you told this to Austin?
No.
He's gonna be so mad when he finds out.
I've now in my life, at 28 years old, I've seen Kiss 26 times. But this is first time ever. I was 5 years old.
Oh,
My
wow.
dad brought me to Kiss. Like it was a big thing. And yeah, so my parents got me a guitar when I was 6, and it was too early for me to get into that. Like I just wasn't there mentally to do it. But I remember when I was 10 years old, being in public school, and I saw this kid play "Smoke on the Water" during a talent show on an electric guitar, and
It's always smoke on the water.
dude, oh yeah. Or as kids on TikTok will tell me now that's the forbidden riff, which is hysterical. The 035, it's forbidden. I make jokes about it on the internet all the time now because
I had no idea that was a thing, but I really loved learning that.
Yeah, bro, forbidden.
It's forbidden.
I would always thought there was Stairway to Heaven was forbidden from Wayne's World, but they say it's that. But anyway, after that, I saw that kid play the guitar. I was like, yo, Mom, I really want to get a guitar. And my parents were pretty down for it off the bat. They just kind of got me one, and yeah, from there it was pretty cool because I was playing basketball for like whatever, the youth league, whatever you call it, little league, and kid I was playing basketball with, my friend who's one of my best friends to this day, John Sipa. He was like the best on the team. I was not the best on the team. I was probably one of the worst, but
Relatable.
yeah. But our dads got to talking in the stands, and it was around Christmas time, and his dad was like, "Yeah, I'm buying my son a bass." And my dad was like, "Oh, AJ just got a guitar. He just started like figuring out a few chords and whatnot." And I broke my thumb because I slammed it in a car door, and I think he broke his wrist snowboarding at the same time. So we had to go to the games for like 3 weeks and both sit on the sidelines because we couldn't actually play. And we just
love that you still had to go though.
Yeah. Our
It's
parents
like,
still-
dude, I'm 9 years old. What am I gonna do? Just sit here for 2 hours with a broken wrist? Like, let me go home.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I don't think I've ever told this story publicly either. But like, basically, we sat together and we just started talking. I was like, "Oh, I got a guitar." He's talking about bass, yada yada. Our parents kind of made it work out where we hung out a few times, and we became literally best friends, and we learned how to play music together and started bands together. And without him, I don't think that I would have ever like been so entrenched in learning, because we really learned together and we found music together. We found all these bands, and my dad was obviously super into he's into metal and old classic rock and all this stuff, and also hip hop. My dad loves hip hop, but he put me on to a lot of stuff. But I also was able to find my thing with my friends too, which was cool. Like I had someone to learn with and find a Green Day, and then dig down the whole rabbit hole and go down and find more punk bands and more of my music that wasn't just my parents' music, which was cool.
Crazy.
I had someone to learn with, and we learned a lot over the years together, me and him.
Yeah, and
I
I would say that to me, all this says is you get it. Because I think one of the reasons why, no, to be honest with you, I don't want to sound like a dinosaur or anything. I do listen to a fair shake of modern artists. But one thing I find about the modern artists I enjoy, as opposed to the ones that I write off, is they don't know musical history. They don't understand the artists that came before them, their contribution to music, especially rock artists. And so they just end up sort of reproducing this regurgitation of something that has you can tell when something doesn't have a spine, something to stand on. And I've never felt that about your music. I've always felt that there is a depth of knowledge there, because one of the most beautiful things to me is how punk rock took, if you look at bands like, for example, I'm a huge Rancid fan. There's so many blues guitar licks in Rancid.
And
they wouldn't have that if they didn't know about Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly. You know what I mean? They would not have that. And so you can really tell those here today, gone tomorrow pop punk bands. I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm not going to name any. We just went through the 2010s. We know who's still here and who's not. And it's those artists that are able to borrow from the past. So I've always liked you. Now I like you even more, man.
That's funny. That's what Chris got from hearing that. What I heard hearing the story is that your dad might be cooler than Dan Burke's dad, and I thought Dan Burke had like a really cool dad. So like,
I've talked to Dan Burke about his dad before. That's funny.
no, you can't talk to Dan Burke about Dan Burke's dad because
Uh,
Dan Burke does not understand how cool Dan Burke's
I'm
dad
sorry.
is.
I think John Ryan told me about Dan Burke's dad while
There you go.
we were bike riding a couple months ago.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah,
the
Dan Burke's
audiophile
dad's
knows
awesome.
what he's talking about.
Hey, shout out rock and roll dads. I think that's the overall sentiment here.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
have a rock and roll dad too, Chris.
Yeah, I do. AJ, so with that being said, man, we're talking about you have like your musical partner at a young age. It's sort of like that, like I'd say, because I had the same thing. It was like an adversarial friendship where it's like, oh, you got good at Hell's Bells. All right, well, screw you. I'm gonna go learn Back in Black and shove it in your face. But we're gonna play together.
Bro, that was us, dude. We have I remember we would go into his basement, and his grandfather was a jazz drummer, so we had an old jazz drum kit. And we would jam out on that and guitar and bass. So we had all the instruments just set up. And then we had an old karaoke machine. And you know how those karaoke machines had cassette players that you could hit record on it? We would just record to tape. Like, we would play, like, AC/DC, or we would play, like, Kiss or whatever, but then we'd also do Fat Lip by Sum 41 and Hitchin' a Ride by Green Day. But we would just do the takes until felt like we got it right. So you'd listen to this one tape, and American Idiot would probably be on it like 6 times.
Love that
We
so
would just
much.
roll with it because we needed to get it right. And classic rock was huge for us too, man. It's all I listened to. I was obsessed with Angus.
Angus is the reason I play music. So
He's
you know.
the best, man.
He's the best. Yeah, you really do
best.
get it. So AJ, man, with all this being said, you're talking about like growing up and sort of like, you know, playing in basements. How do you jump into A, being a multi-instrumentalist, and B, getting out there and playing shows? Like, take us into, like, I'm sure it's all started in high school. So walk us through that next chapter of, you know, thinking about booking the DIY tours and you know, you've done a lot. I'll let you tell it, but get us there.
It actually started in middle school for me. I played my first gig in 2005 when I was 12. With John, and our band at the time was called Green Eggs and Mayhem. That was my first band.
Whoa, hold on. Say that again.
The band name was Green Eggs and Mayhem.
That's incredible.
That was
That's
our band
amazing.
name. Yeah,
Man.
we did, and it's funny. We had a shtick, man. I probably made more money in that band than any other band I ever played in because we were young, but we were able to do, like, we had some original songs, but we also did a lot of covers. Like, at 13, I was able to play, like, the Crazy Train solo, so we would do Crazy Train. And then we would get hired to play bars and shit because they would be like, yo, look at these 13-year-old kids that could play Crazy Train. Like, we had a shtick, and then as soon as we got older, it was, like, gone. But
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
Amazing. Green Eggs and Mayhem.
Yeah, Green Eggs and Mayhem. So through that, I met some of my, like, closest friends, and some of my friends to this day. There was a thing called Yonkers Underground. And so our band at the time, you know, we would just play whoever would let us. If we could play the school talent show, we played the school talent show. But we found these kids that were a few years older than us, and they did what was called Yonkers Underground. My friend Donald and Nelson, who are still two of my best buds to this day, they were really super cool to us. You know, they were like, when we're 13, they're like 16, 18. They're a few years older, but they were down to just have us play shows. And we learned about the local, that there was other bands and there was other community. And at the same time, the Bronx Underground is really big. So at that time, like, they still do shows there now, but FLC was this church basement in Throgsneck in the Bronx. And bands like Dally's Gone Wrong would play, or A Moment's Worth, and 400 kids would be there. So we got to kind of see all that happen, even though we were, like, very small, low of the totem pole of all of that. But it was definitely really inspiring to not only see, like, as far as my parents do, like, my dad, he would bring me to Kiss concerts. That's arena level. But this was me getting to see, like, oh, wow, these guys are, like, live around here, and they're just on MySpace, but they could bring 400 people to a show. And I, like, really learned a lot through that. And I learned that even after Yonkers Underground kind of faded away, because those guys were a few years older than us, that if you wanted to do shows, you kind of just had to make it happen. Like, there was no venue. We don't have a venue in Yonkers. So it was like, wherever you're going to do a show, you're just like, just make it happen somewhere. Wherever you just figure it out. We had a PA system, so we just started, in high school especially, just started, like, figuring out, hey, we want to play a show. There's nowhere to play a show. So
Listen, a kid with a PA system is a dangerous thing. You can set that shit up anywhere you can plug in,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, you got a problem.
Yup. Any kids that may potentially listen to this, buy a PA system if you're in a band, because
Just buy it.
you'll be the guy that can throw the shows. That's all
True.
you need. That's all
And
you
that's
need.
how,
is the
that's
PA
honestly how
system.
you brush the elbows, you shake the hands, and you get more shows in other places that aren't
Yeah.
just your basement or your
Then
garage.
you're right. Then it's like, oh shit, we've got this great show planned, but we don't have any PA. Get this kid who has the PA and his band will play, and you're like, great,
Yeah.
now my band has a show.
That's
Exactly.
it, dude. You become very valuable once you have the PA.
Yeah. I was the kid with the PA, so I'm with you on that, AJ. So we're talking about sort of playing your first show, early middle school, and I'm assuming that band didn't go very far, as I know my first childhood band. I played my first show when I was 13 at the Loft in Poughkeepsie. We opened up actually for the singer of the Starting Line side project, Personnel. I forget his name
Nice.
right now. Yeah,
Wow.
dude, it was pretty awesome. He was so hyped because it was our first show. We had to have sold 200 tickets. He's like, dude, this tour's been terrible. You guys rock, man. And then, of course, all of our family leaves right after we play. But we stuck around. We stuck around because we knew, hey, you got to be respectful from early on, that punk etiquette, which honestly I carry through a lot of my life with me. You know, there's actually a decent amount of respect from the punk community.
Yeah.
I kind of got, but it's just so I've been there. I get that, but I want to know when it started getting serious for you. You know, you're in high school, you're thinking like, I could pass this test or I could book a weekender. You know, did that happen or anything like that?
Well, so like I said, funny enough, that first band did go for a long time, man. I almost all the way through high school, and we did pretty well. Like, we didn't travel because we were too young to do that. Couldn't even drive yet, but we did play around a lot locally, and we made some decent like money. And I learned what it was like to play in front of people through that. And then when that ended, I started another pop punk band with AJK in high school, like tail end of high school, like 11th into 12th grade. We had a pop punk band, and it was funny. It was me, AJK, and then Brandon, who played in One Fell Swoop. We were all in a band together in high school. And then that ended right after high school. It wasn't super serious. It was kind of our thing in high school. And then once we went to college, it all split off. And then I would say One Fell Swoop is where it started to get a little bit more serious for me, which was college.
That's where I had met you. I remember you guys were coming up, playing a lot of shows with Far From Proper, my old band. We'd all sort of, I know you used to throw shows even before the Donk down in Yonkers, and people would go down and play these crazy Yonkers shows. And I honestly was just too afraid to talk to you. All of our band was like, yo, they're from Yonkers, dude. They throw crazy shows down there. They're tough. Like, we'll let them approach us. And if we don't get a show with them, we don't get a show with them. That's on us. You know what I mean? So,
That's
swear to
so
God.
Damn, they're tough.
Yeah, I'll never forget.
Swear to God.
I'll never forget that this one show we had with Far From Proper, man, it was like way too chaotic. Like, the show that we were never allowed to do a show at this place ever again because the neighbors were like, hell no. It was at a Boys and Girls Club,
Yep.
but it was One Fell Swoop's record release, and we had Far From Proper and that band Old Again on.
Yes.
Oh,
from Florida.
true.
Love
but
those
we-
guys.
Classic.
But also, Modern Baseball did a secret set because they were on tour, and they had a matinee show at Webster Hall, so they just drove up to Yonkers after the show and just came and did a secret set at our show. Which is
Badass.
sick. It was like one of the most chaotic shows ever. But
Whoa.
just thinking Far From Proper, I just like thought of that because I was
So
like,
correct me if
yeah.
I'm wrong. I remember like an aerial picture of that show that sort of shot down into where the show was taking place, and it just looked like it was like such like a hard ass thing that was happening there. And then like I do remember it actually getting shut down, and like my bandmate Chris coming up to me and be like, "Yeah, it doesn't look like we're playing a show in Yonkers anytime soon." Just like, yeah, it's not happening. Like, what do you miss about?
the show didn't get shut down. It happened. All bands got to play, but at the end of the night, the guy that ran the place he was super nice too, mind you. But the neighbors hated it, dude. I don't know if I could swear. I almost cursed. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
that's fine. Andrew
can
does it all the
swear.
time, so whatever.
All right, cool.
My dad's already disappointed. It's fine.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew.
Bro.
I didn't throw you under the bus, but
Bro, I'm from fucking Yonkers. We're hard down here. We fucking
Get out
curse
of-
every other word.
Get on my fucking way, bruh. Paisan.
But yeah, no, dude. It didn't. At the end of the night, the guy was just like, "Listen, man, that was cool and all, but you just shoved like 150 people into a room that's supposed to fit like 12. not 12. Actually, no, maybe like 30.
That has the same energy as the Donk, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I got.
It's like
they didn't
it's like,
like
I don't
it.
know
Yeah.
if this many people are allowed to be in this room, but no one's scared, so
They didn't like me there either. So.
we'll get there. We'll get there. So you're throwing these crazy shows, One Fell Swoops, where it really happens. your earlier band goes on for quite some time. Actually, I commend you guys. Like it's we fought a bunch back in the young kid band days. We actually had 3 different bands with the same people because of how much we fought. We get back together, and you know how it goes.
Different name.
But different name every time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lunchtime escapades, the whole shebang. Thanks, Jeff Greblich, for naming that one. We used it. Anyways, so with that
That's a
being
good
said,
one.
my friend Jeff does listen to the show. I like that. So AJ, man, one fell swoop. I do actually remember you guys coming up to the loft a lot. I remember
Yeah.
you guys kind of making some headway. Kids were really starting to dig it up here. And I remember you started opening up the shows in our area, but then you'd kind of play over some of the locals. And it was warranted because kids didn't go outside and smoke their cigarettes. You know, the loft was very much so, hey, if we don't want to see you, we don't care where you build. We're going to go outside and chit chat. We're going to come back in and watch the next band we want to see. So
Yeah.
there could be 200 people in the loft sold out at a given time. But if you were playing, you might only have 15 or you might have 175. People seem to really like you in the area. So like, why don't you talk about the approach you took as your first like real serious, like let's take over the world, I assume style band.
Yeah.
Even though I hate when bands say let's take over the world, but like the mentality is like, let's, take this by storm. Why don't you let us into the mindset of those earlier years of you pursuing this full time, essentially?
Well, all right. So my like I'm saying before, my buddy John Sipa, who I grew up with playing music, he was a year older than me, right? So he went to college a year before me, and he went down to Philly. He went to Drexel for college, and his first year in college, he started doing a lot of DIY touring. He played in a band called W.C. Lindsay, who to this day one of my favorite bands of all time. You guys would probably love them. Actually, they're like electro pop band. Great.
I'm listening.
Great, yeah, exactly. Great band, but anyway, R.I.P. But when I was watching my best friend, who I grew up with, tour, I was like, wow, we could do that. Like that's a thing, Like that was the first eye-opening point for me when I was a senior in high school, being like, wow, I could do that too. So yeah, I got into college, started this band, and right off the bat, we were just kind of like, we want to try to do this thing, like for real. Like we want to see if we could, how far we could take this. And the one fell swoop that ended was not the same one fell swoop that started right in the beginning. Our drummer was different. We had a lead singer to begin with. We didn't really have a bass player for the first few shows. But what it turned out to be was, I mean, some of the best years of my life, and I learned like so much through the process of being in that band. But yeah, getting into that it was kind of inspired again by my best bud, and then just seeing how you could do it, and then going to college and being like, I want to try to see if I can do this too. And Poughkeepsie was one of our favorite places because, New York City, to getting on gigs in New York City is next to impossible to get support spots and stuff like that in New York City. It's not, with Poughkeepsie, I remember we had to sell tickets every time we did a show up there, which, is fun to try to get all your friends from college and to come up an hour to go see band play. But we just hustled for it, man. We our second show ever was at the Chance opening for Bayside. And
that's kind of sick.
Yeah, we sucked. We were terrible. we didn't have we had 4 songs. We only played 4 songs, and we had a singer at that point. Like, it wasn't the same band, but it definitely taught me the drive of like, oh, we got 75 people up there. And I was like, we could do this. And then we started just trying to we just started asking to get on shows as much as we could, just asking and asking and asking, and just getting a lot of no's and getting a lot of rejections, but being like, it's cool. Like, we're going to just keep asking. And through that process, yeah, Poughkeepsie was one of our favorite places to go to. We opened up for Set Your Goals. We direct supported for them up there one time. That was an amazing show. And I remember us being like, using the leverage of putting out a new EP and just saying, yo, we'll use this as our EP release show, and we'll get you 50 people there. And they were like, all right, we'll give you the direct support spot. Like, that's how I think we got over some of the locals, too, was that we were just like, we'll get the people that we promised.
What was that, like the 2 p.m. Set Your Goals show? Like that afternoon one that happened?
No, it was at the Loft. It was a nighttime thing.
They did like we played the 2 p.m. show. There was this weird thing where they played 2 sets in one day. I kid you not. It was actually insane. Their New York City show got canceled for some reason. And so the Loft is like, come up here. You guys will freaking sell out twice in one day. So it might have been, you guys might have driven up for the evening. I interned there at the time, so my band played, and I just got to stay for free and watch it. I'm just wondering, because that's like the legendary you go up and look up Set Your Goals on the Loft on YouTube. It's the 2 p.m. There's freaking sunlight coming in through those gated loft windows. That's like,
oh shit, I've seen those videos.
Yeah, exactly. So I just always ask.
I remember Bellwether played. I don't
Yes.
remember who else played the show, but I remember us and Bellwether played, and we played with them a handful of times over
That
the
Long
years.
Island scene. We'll get there. We'll definitely get there. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're talking about sort of traveling, realizing essentially what I'm getting from this is the hustle and sort of the entrepreneurial spirit. You kind of have to, if you want to thrive in the DIY punk scene, or even when you get past DIY and you get on like a label, it's still an indie label. You need to be an entrepreneur from start to finish. So it seems like you kind of realize that early on.
Yeah, it was the thing where I was just ready to take on the challenges and learn the skills. Like I was very driven to just learn whatever skill I needed to learn to be able to try to just step up a little bit. I put in a lot of the work. I mean, I love all those guys in one fell swoop. I did most of the managing stuff essentially. Like I did all the booking and the managing and the networking and the talking to people, and I booked a lot of shows like you said here, which in turn also I met a lot of people through that because people would hit me up to book, yo, can we play a show? Sure, cool, I'll book you a show. And then I met them, and then we'd be able to swap. Like, that's how we got to play the Far From Proper record release show, because I had them down here, and then we became friends, and then the whole deal, man. You got to put yourself in the. I think people wait for opportunities, but the reality is I learned that you have to put yourself in the spot to get the opportunities.
Yes, that's actually an amazing
That's true.
sentiment.
The
And
right place
it's,
at the right time.
yeah, but I think that helps. But I think not being afraid to take the shot when you're in that
Yeah.
right place at the right time. Like for
Well, yeah.
example, me with AJ's band, we were too young, we were too hesitant. I never realized we were this close in age, AJ. I think it's because you've always had an insane beard that I was like, all right, well, these are the older kids, and we don't really want to ask them to go down and play Yonkers. We're just gonna wait until they ask us. And guess what happened? It never happened. The shows got shut down. They stopped happening. We missed the opportunity. So
Yeah.
you need to have like that go-getter mentality in the punk community, and you'll find a respectful way to do it. I've definitely asked early on in my career, and it was like, that might have been a little rude on the drive home. No wonder he said no or she said no. But as time goes on, you learn how to sort of finesse it. And what you do, and what the kids with the PAs, something that I kind of want to dive into later on, because I feel like I have a few more parts of your journey. But if you can offer something in return, I'll book your show if you book my show. That helps a lot too. And it's sort of like the bargaining and the bartering of the pop punk world is. I'll never forget those lessons. It's crazy to me.
And you know what? Yeah, you're right. And what's funny is that I also, to anybody that's listening to this, may want this advice. I never directly said that to anyone. I book your band. I never said, but you owe me a show in return. I never said that.
Right.
But when you just put on something cool and you do it because you want to and because you love to, and like I was gonna put them a cool show together no matter what. If I got something back from it, cool, but I never expected the thing back from it either. Like I didn't do the favors with an expectation of return.
Exactly.
And
I have a feeling.
But the
Right.
courtesy is there.
I have a feeling that you wouldn't have gotten as many favors in return if you were like, well, you owe me, bro. This is a good show. You owe me.
Also, let's talk about selling tickets, right? I freaking forget that happened all the time until people bring it up, and I'm like, that sucked. And what do we get in return from that? We got $2 for every ticket sold. I think there's a reason that all those guys who had you sell tickets don't book shows anymore, because people got tired of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked. I will say, though, man, that it taught me. Like, I hustled. We made it happen every time. It taught me something. I don't like doing it. I don't do it anymore. If anyone asks me to sell tickets, I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
We're too old for that. We're not in high school.
Or I'll just be straight up. I'll be straight up honest with you. This is what I think we can bring. Like if a promoter says, "Here's tickets. Can you sell this many?" I'll say, maybe. This is what we think we could bring. Like I'm still always gonna promote the show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'll always
For
just
sure.
be honest. But then I hustled, man. We all did. We would just I would make it a thing to be like, yo, guys, we gotta sell 25 tickets. That means each one of us realistically has to sell 5 to 6 tickets. Like, make it happen. And if one guy doesn't, we gotta pick up the slack with this guy. Like, just make it happen. Get your 5 sold. And
it's funny.
We would
like,
hustle.
I'm hearing you guys talk about all this stuff, and I was never in I mean, I guess technically speaking, I was in a band in high school, but I was in a band that was already a band, and I played one show with them and wrote one song with them, so I don't really count that much. But I never really had the local band thing, but I went on tour with a friend we mentioned before, Tyler, with hits like Pop Band, and everything that you guys are describing, we also went through on those tours, but the difference was that we had more money, but they were all the same problems. maybe you didn't have to sell tickets, but you still had to like go to the One Direction show and pass out flyers and be like, hey, I know you like One Direction, but check out this band that's not as good as One Direction, but you still will probably like them. And then, you know, like while you're on tour with the band, it's like, okay, so like you guys are going to headline in Florida because that's where you guys are from. And then when we go up to New York, we're going to headline because that's where we're from. And then we get to the Midwest and you guys are going to headline. And it's like this whole thing. And it's like every genre probably has like essentially the same issues that you always have to work around when you're not on like the giant, you know, arena tours with semi trucks. And
Mhm.
it's crazy that like I'm sure that people in two genres are like looking at the other shows being like, ugh, that's crazy, glad I'm not doing that or something. But it's like we're all doing the same shit. Like,
Yeah, no,
if you don't have the label behind you like doing everything for you already, like you're out there hustling. Like I'm sure that when Macklemore, Chance the Rapper, all those independent guys were coming up, they were, you know, at the other shows passing out flyers, they were selling their own CDs and tickets and shit. Like you just have to hustle. If you don't do the work, then no one's gonna want to do the work for you.
Yeah, the DIY pop scene's no different. Andrew got to sort of experience that. Thankfully, a lot of our friends in that scene have gone on to sort of get out of the DIY aspect because if you're in pop, I don't really know how well that bodes in the long term. But, you know, AJ, this is something I actually love asking people on this show because I have, you know, done this twice and I think I've gotten less out of it than I hope to get out of it, signing to a label, that is, especially in this modern era where you can seemingly achieve anything you want yourself through the internet, through being smart, through learning marketing, through taking the time to hone a new side of the craft. And eventually, in the end, if it works out, you're going to be making more money because less people are going to be taking a cut. So, where you're at right now, I see you and I'm like, all right. And I know we still have some more parts of your journey to get through, but while we're here, I want to just address this. You obviously are. I consider you a lifer. Okay, I don't think you're going anywhere. I think your pursuit to make
Amen.
a career out of music is, I think, along the same lines of Andrew's, where no matter how many times we get knocked down, we're going to keep getting back up and coming back stronger. So, as someone who has full creative autonomy right now and is doing quite well on a bunch of different platforms, are you working towards signing that away, or are you embracing sort of like the mentality of doing it yourself? Where's your head at with like the modern artist not necessarily needing a label?
I really don't. I don't. I always say this. I don't really. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of value in signing to certain labels, but I would never put my name and ink on anything that unless I had the leverage to do it. Unless I had the leverage to say, hey, what are you gonna do for me? And like, I'm not signing anything away until you tell me what you're gonna do for me. Because if I don't feel like it's really worth my time, I'm not gonna do it. Because at the end of the day, I not only feel like I have a pretty good grasp, especially in this past year, on everything I need to do to make this successful on my own, but I, I'm willing to learn too. I'm always willing to learn, and that's where like, what are you gonna do for me? Because if all you like, it's that's what I think about in the modern day, in the internet, especially in the past few years, where we've all come to like, you it becomes less and less. There's no middleman anymore.
Right.
It's we have all these platforms, and whoever's really good at communicating on them will win. It doesn't matter. Like, you could
Right.
win just by communicating well on these things. And if you know how to communicate and storytell and show the things you're good at, that's it, man. It's all you really need in these day and age. And I think that if you wanted to sign to a label, I think that there is a lot of things that labels can do for you. Don't get me wrong. If a right deal came up, I would absolutely consider it. But I would never seek it out. I want it to come to me.
Right. I think that's like a big thing that you touched on that Chris and I have definitely learned the hard way, with him being signed twice, me being signed once. Um, that like it's a lot of I feel like a lot of people or a lot of musicians, I guess really specifically, that are like where we're at or maybe less successful, more successful, but not there yet. Like they think that, oh, like I need the label to do all this stuff, especially because like I don't know how to do it, and honestly I don't want to do it. Like I don't want to do all that work. I just want to play shows and make music. Like that's all I want to do. So they're like, a label will just do all the other stuff for me and I don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
But if you're willing to do it and willing to learn, like you said, that's a big one. If you're willing to put the time in and realize like, cool, I'm gonna be bad at this at first, but eventually I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna be really good at it,
Yep.
then you don't really need a label for anything because everything you want to learn is available to you. And it's really just like, are you willing to put the time and effort in to do it, or do you want to just like sit back and hope that a label will find you and just like hand you success? Because that pretty much never happens, especially now. It
It'll
used to happen, but I don't think that's really ever going to happen
It was
ever
still
again.
a shot in the dark.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
I think the reality, especially in a post-COVID world, is it's never going to happen anymore. If you have that mentality,
Totally.
you lost already. If you want to
Mhm.
be a musician and you're waiting for someone to come to you, you're going to lose. It's in a post-COVID world, man, like no one is betting on anybody anymore. No one,
Exactly.
For sure.
the whole
And-
music industry collapsed.
Yes,
no one
unfortunately.
no one is gonna bet on you anymore. That you have to prove that you are the valuable thing, and you have to be the asset, and not wait for, oh, I need management. Like, what do you need what are you trying to manage? Like,
Exactly.
if you
Right.
you don't need that unless you need that. Like, I
Mhm.
don't
Soundbite, man. You
like,
just gave us a soundbite of positivity. And
Yeah.
listen, to let
Manage
people
what?
to let
yeah,
people
what are
in
you
my
managing?
yeah, so to let people in my head and to sort of bring up why I chose to ask AJ and sort of step away from a story about all this because Andrew kind of really naturally segued it in. It's because the music industry's changed and you have really adapted to it, AJ. I think. I mean, I like to think I've adapted. You really have, and we'll definitely get there. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy guy, but we still have a decent amount of time left in this interview, anyways. So
I'm in no rush.
cool. And so you really have adapted to it, but also I think it's something people need to hear. So I'm totally okay with talking about the fact that like, yeah, I did it twice and it didn't work out. And a lot of it was on me just waiting for someone to do something for me. And that was foolish because what was I waiting for? All the energy that we had put into getting people's attentions, we could have got we could have kept going and got more
Right.
humans on the street level to listen to us rather than like, quote unquote suits. And it's this pop punk mentality that even though me and Andrew don't make pop punk anymore, and this is really why I brought it here, is because like the mentality's still the same. I mean, I feel like you're applying the same mentality to your Twitch streams, to your TikTok videos, to learning how to record and be an engineer, which is something I've seen you do in recent years. You're just taking what we learned. Hey, look, no one's going to book us on this big show unless we sell these tickets. So essentially, we're doing it for ourselves. We're not going to get the show unless we can guarantee something that we're creating the guarantee for ourselves. It's the mentality that I'm so
Right.
thankful for growing up in that punk scene. So
Right.
that's
And
kind of why I want to,
it's
get
real
AJ's head at where the modern world meets the old mentality because there's something to be
real
learned there, I think.
real quick before we move on too, I want
Yeah.
to say, like, I mean, I'm sure that labels aren't really signing a lot of artists this past year, with everything going on, but
Probably
I
not in the
think
next
that-
5 years, to be honest.
probably not in the next 5 years, but I would like to just say one thing that I think would have been useful to me and Chris when we had gotten signed the last time, that even when you have a label, especially like we were doing it all ourselves to get the attention of the label, then we got the attention and we were kind of like, cool, now we're going to wait and the label's going to start doing stuff and we can do whatever they need us to do. If we had just kept going and then when we like hit a roadblock and was like, oh, we can't do this, hey label, can you help us do this that we're trying to do, if we had kept doing that, I think we maybe could have found a way to make that work, even though like there were a lot of other circumstances that caused it to not work out. But I think like
Yeah.
even if you have that mentality, like we're not like, I'm not trying to say like you don't need anybody's help ever, you could do everything completely by yourself, but just like only go seeking for help when you actually need the help. And
Yeah. When you
and
have
I'm
the
sure you'll
leverage, too,
find
like AJ
someone
said.
right, and I'm sure you'll find somebody willing to help you because they either believe in you or can see a mutual benefit from both of you succeeding. So
Yeah, I think for me, the past year, I've dove into a lot of
past tense dive.
past tense dive into a lot of just learning about this stuff, and one thing I will say more than anything, you learn by doing. You do not learn by watching YouTube videos about how to do. That can give you the start, but you actually have to do, and it's gonna everything you think that I watched that YouTube video, I got this. It's gonna be harder. Lose that mentality because the thing is gonna be harder than you thought in the first place, always. And then the other part of that is that just being self-aware of like trying a bunch of different things and doing it to an extent to where you're like, I have a pretty good grasp on this. I could be better in this spot. And like you were saying, Andrew, like being able to know what responsibilities you do dish out to other people because you're like, I'm not that good at this. I tried. I learned what the needed and or you don't like it. There's also things that you has to get done that you don't like. And that's I already know the first things that if I could afford to hire someone, what I would want to hire. Like I know because I've tried everything and I still currently do everything. Me and AJ in our band, we do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
Every single thing we do, we don't have money. We're unemployed. We lost our jobs this year, so it's like we do everything ourselves. But I know if we can afford to hire someone, I know what jobs need to get done. I know the things I don't like to do. I know the things I'm not that good at. But you can get by with anything. Like, that's the world. Is like, you have to do the thing. You have to try. Like, I'm not the greatest video editor, but I know how to make Instagram and TikTok videos and stuff. And I know that I have the ideas, and I know how a good edited video would look. But I know if I could hire someone to do it, that would probably be a lot better. You know, but I'm not gonna wait around either. I'm not gonna wait till I can hire someone to do it. Like, I have to just do it now. Like, I just do it to what you can. And
But then with that mentality, when you can hire someone, it's on your own terms and it's only benefiting you. So
right. And they're probably coming to you being like, I really want to work for you.
Right. And you know exactly what to tell them you need. Like, you know, because you did it yourself. There's no, like, waiting for some label or some marketing director or something to be like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. It's just like, no, this is what I need you to do. Like, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what I need you to do. Like, I think is a way more valuable skill. It makes you. It's just. I mean, I love the grind. Like, I love working on this stuff. I love learning. I love doing the thing, and I love sucking at things, and then trying to get better. I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah,
you sound like Dave Grohl.
And we will get there too with Dave Grohl.
I love Dave Grohl too.
I know you do.
That's awesome. So AJ, I want to get more into the modern part of this interview, but for everyone who wants to know, like, okay, well, like, he toured at some point. He started really getting out there at some point, right? So take us from One Fell Swoop to Shakeout, and don't feel rushed here, but like let's get there so we can get more into the fun stuff.
Don't feel rushed, but like hurry up.
No.
I could talk for like 8 hours. Sorry, so shut me up whenever. No, so One Fell Swoop, I booked, you know, I was in college at the time, and I did 5 years in college because I did a master's degree, and it was a 5-year program. So, like, basically in my sophomore year of college, I had the great GPA for them to be like, do you want to start taking grad classes now so you get ahead? So I went to college for 5 years, unlike most people's 4. But I made use of every single break and weekend, and also played weekday shows. If they were like, yo, there's a Tuesday night, A Loss for Words is playing The Loft. Do you guys want to play? We would do it. We would drive up and do it, and I would go to class at 8 in the morning tired the next day. I never cared. So
8 a.m. class, fucked up.
Yeah, shit sucked. I hated school in general. I was good at school, but I hated it, dude. Like, I just
preach, bro.
Yeah, I was.
Homework is whack. Essays are easy. You don't learn anything.
No, I learned nothing in school almost. I just didn't pay attention. I learned all the shit again. I learned all the shit I feel like I needed by doing. Like, going back to the last thing, I learned everything that I use now because I did, not because I sat in a classroom and learned it. But anyway.
Now that being said, what's your master's degree in?
Music education. Teaching music.
That's useful.
Teaching
there
music.
There you go.
Oh,
that's great.
And I do that to this day. So I love that too. So I mean, there was an upside to it for sure.
That's a quick side lesson with you know, while achieving your dreams, like becoming a successful musician, if you can find another way to channel your passion that's a more quote unquote, you know, safe job, like music teaching when you're trying to become a musician, then like that's always really fulfilling and great to find.
It's awesome. I love it. I teach lessons every couple days a week still to this day, and it's all on my own schedule and my own thing, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I did go on tours in college. You know, we would do a week here, 2 weeks there. It wasn't till after college, I got out of college, One Fell Swoop started to become something different, which was, we called it House Leaks for a minute. It was like another band. We put out one EP. And it was mostly just me and John, and we were both in we were in a weird part of our lives, I think. And I don't know. It was just like a weird time for me.
What's your age in this time period?
23.
That's what I thought. Okay. And you went back to One Fell Swoop afterwards, right?
No. Nope. Never
Oh,
went
okay.
back. Yeah,
you never went back. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no. 5 years ago, the other day was our last show.
Wow.
Yep.
Damn, time flies.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did House Leaks for a minute. We played a few shows, but I at that same time is when I was like, well, I want to figure out what I can do for myself that isn't go to get a teaching job in a public school, because all the people I went to school with, that's what they were all doing. But I knew I wanted to tour and play, and I knew that having that full-time job and doing that wasn't going to be a thing. And still to this day, I don't think that it's really my path. But
it definitely wouldn't have made touring any easier.
No, yeah. Yeah, man.
It's a lot harder to take a lot of time off from like a school than like a grocery store.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, so I opened up the Donk, which was a music school. That's what it was on paper. And I did teach out of that space, but I also was like, I am gonna throw shows here at night. And
I learned things at the Donk for sure.
lots of PBR.
For sure, lots of PBR.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Donk was the thing I kind of did right out of my master's degree, and it was a year. It was a year, like a year lease. I lasted through the year lease before they were like, "Get the hell out of here."
You were only at the Donk for a year?
1 year, and then
That makes me so sad.
it was
What?
done. I threw about 70 shows that year, I think.
That might have been the best year of my life then.
Crazy.
That honestly probably was the best year of my life so far then.
Wow.
I feel like I was there like 20 times.
Dude,
you guys were
even
there a few times.
dude,
But
even
it's
if
only-
you
That's not like longer than a year. That's insane to me.
that's
one
like
year.
more than a show a week, and if you had done a show a week, that would have also been insane. But you did some weeks where you did more because that's
You even had a
there's only
Donk
like 50
Fest.
something weeks.
Yeah,
You
so-
had Donk
it.
Fests.
Oh, that was those were the last 3 shows that weekend because I was like, well, I knew my lease was up at the end of November. I was like, let me give myself 2 weeks between like cleaning up this and getting out. So I threw that 2 weeks before my lease was up, and I was like, I'm gonna throw a banger, and then we're gonna walk out of this place and be like, peace out. But One Fell Swoop actually did play one song at the very last Donk Fest that last day of the weekend. We played one song
Wow.
because we were all there. We didn't plan it. We were just there. All 4 of us were there. We were like, yo, you want to play a song and not tell anyone? And
How
we-
fitting.
We hadn't practiced. We didn't practice anything. We just did it. Someone got thrown through a hole through the wall during the song when we started playing. Someone just threw someone through the wall. There was a mess. I had to patch it the next
Dude,
week.
and for those who don't
Did the
know,
landlord find out?
hold on. For those that don't know, 3 out of 4 of the walls in that room, if I remember, or at least 2 of them are brick. So like you only have a
Yeah,
lot of
one-
options to throw people through the wall.
Yeah, the one behind the band was brick. And the other ones
Oh.
were all just sheetrock, and someone
Listen,
got thrown
either-
right through the sheetrock. Dude.
Either way, it's not like the easiest thing to throw someone just through a wall.
It was at the end of the show. There was 3 at the end of that weekend. There was 3 holes in the wall through that weekend, that Donkfest weekend.
Wow.
But one
Wow.
was human sized. One was
That's
like
amazing.
Someone's whole back went through the wall, and I was like, oh man, that's gonna suck to patch. But hey,
What a
man,
way to go out.
But
you know?
that's a show.
it was
That's a
worth
show
it, yeah.
people are talking about for the rest of their
And-
lives.
Can I be honest? Before, because I want to sort of let people know about like the Dunk. I think means a lot to Andrew and I as well. To our band and to Austin and Mikey. We don't necessarily still make music with them anymore, but I mean we're all still really good friends, and I think it's because like you know there was such positivity and we played there so many times, and like even if we were having like a bad tour, we would come to the Dunk and we knew we would get a good show, and usually it booked us at the end of the run, so we'd always like go home with an amazing last impression of the tour.
Yeah.
And I think
We
it's
were
a big
always
part of,
definitely really excited to go to the Donk.
yeah, it was like a huge part of our band's overall mental health. You had such an amazing culture at that place. You know, all your friends who came and worked it were super nice. It's like, oh shit, you forgot beer? Hey, have one of my beers. It's
Dude,
everyone's supposed to have fun right
yes.
now. Or it's like,
Or,
yo,
like, you'd be
guys, like,
chilling
you
in the
play an extra
hallway and
song, there's
someone-
no rush. Like it was awesome. You know?
Yeah, you're chilling in the hallway and there's like 3 strangers there and they're like, yo, we're ordering pizza if you guys want in to just like throw 5s. And we're like, dude, hell yeah, I want pizza. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Or like, dude, we played Brooklyn so many times also. There was at least one asshole, whether in a band or in the crowd, at every Brooklyn show. I don't understand.
Hecklers and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Hecklers or people
No-
that were also in bands that were like, hey, thanks for letting me use your gear, but if you ever not watch our band again, I'll kick your ass. And I'm like, that's a weird way to say thank you, but okay.
Basically, if you were at
Um,
the Dunk, you are the reason why I still to this day revere the punk mentality and sort of like the New York State punk scene, because it's just like
Yeah,
gets a
that's-
bad rep, you know.
That's pretty much
Punk
where I was
music
going.
gets
Is
a
like,
bad rep in the mainstream light.
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it's
for-
like in Brooklyn, everyone was a piece of shit, but then I
Yeah.
come to the Donk and like everyone in all the bands, everybody who came to the show, everyone who was working the door, like everybody is so nice and accommodating. Just like, what up, bro? Music, am I right?
Dude,
Yeah.
I think Westchester County is highly slept on, and I tell touring DIY
True.
bands that all the time. Bands that I see touring and they're trying to get New York City shows, I'm like, dude, New York City sucks. Like you're
It
competing.
sucks.
You're competing probably with like 8 other shows that night, 10 other shows that night. Like You come up here, we'll throw a show for you. We still throw shows all the time. I mean, not in COVID world, but since the Donk has closed, the scene has only gotten bigger here. And it still goes. Every bar, every weekend, someone's throwing something, but it's the only thing happening. You know, like there's only one thing happening, not 10 things happening. So there's going to be people there, and people like coming and they like hanging out, and they just want to see the bands, and they're just going to hang out and see what happens. And every single band in our area, all the bands are really dope in our area, but no one sounds the same. We don't have that kind of Long Island scene where all the bands like kind of came up and they all had this similar sound.
Totally.
Every band you go to a bill, it's like thrash band plays with metalcore band plays with
psych band
plays with exactly, like a psychedelic band plays with, like, no one sounds the same, but everyone's homies, and we're just all like, hey, we're just here because we like music, we like hanging out, we just like, we just want to have a drink on a Friday night and watch some tunes.
Yeah, not to mention, honestly, it's like all you would have to say to me, it's like if you're traveling with a van and trailer, would you rather drive into New York City, or would you rather graciously and easily pull into the giant parking lot of the Donk and drive in circles and like pull up right to the door where you're going to load in on and not have to worry about any dumb stairs?
Yeah. It was very ideal.
That was huge. That was huge.
That was nice that I was on the ground floor there. But yeah, man, like I said, even in a post Donk world, man, it's still a great scene over here. We have some great bands. More bands have popped up since those. Like, I always meet new people. It's always growing. It's cool, man. It's never really dulled. It's never like it's changed over the years, but it's never really dulled where we are, and it's
good.
It's cool, man. I still love it. I always put on for 914, man.
Hell yeah, man. It's a good area code for sure. So with that being said, you're 23 at this point in time. Take us to where you are right now, to 28, and we can start talk about all the stuff you're doing recently.
Yeah. So I.
For a second, I was like, AJ's not 23.
Yeah.
I was getting
like,
there.
what?
I'm coming up on 28 soon. So we started Shakeout at the end. We started Shakeout the year the Donk was happening. Like all that stuff was happening. We started this band, and we played our first show at the Donk in 2017. And we just released a couple EPs. The whole idea of the project was I was big into looping. I was doing like solo gigs sometimes, like just like with my acoustic guitar, and like I got just into the looper pedal. And I thought I saw this band, my friends in this band, Vicky Speedboat. They were a two-piece. I saw him run a guitar in a bass cab, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And then I kind of took that idea and really just like expanded as far as I could to create two guitars, bass cab, looping. Can I shut the amps off? This really nerdy guitar shit, basically. And I was like, all I need is a drummer. And this kind of came out of the point too of just being old and not knowing that it's hard to get multiple older people on the same page, and being like, well, the more I could do myself, the better.
So true, dude. The older you get, the more differing everyone's opinions are.
Yeah, heard that.
yeah, exactly. I was like, the more I could do, just that same mentality. The more I don't need, like, I can learn the skills and do the thing, the less I have to rely on someone else. So, so we started that, and then, we've done some tours with Shakeout over the years. I already had, it's been a little bit easier to book shows and book tours because I've done it already. I have friends. I've booked a ton of bands. Like, it's a little bit easier to do those things once you've done them. Moving into this past year has been kind of crazy. It's been the biggest year for our band ever, and it's the year that everyone else took off. It seems like everybody took their year off for their band, and it's been our biggest year to date because we were on tour when coronavirus kicked off in the United States. About to go on a 3.5 week tour. It's going to be the longest thing ever. And 5 days in, we were in Arkansas, turned 25 hours back home, and came right back home and said, all right, what's next?
What was that like? What was that moment like?
Man, I don't get too down about things like that. I think most people, or a lot of people would think, oh, man, I just spent 100 hours booking a tour, which I probably did spend about 100 hours booking that tour. Oh, man, this sucks. We're so bummed. We were bummed, but, man, we had a good, fun ride back, and we started talking about what was next. That was it. We didn't know coronavirus could have lasted 2 weeks at that point. We had no idea. We didn't know it was going to be 2 years potentially of lockdown.
That's true.
I was like, yo, dude, my job said I was like, well, first of all, I was already going to be off for 3 weeks, so I didn't have to go back to work. I was like, yo, my job's closed for the next 3 days when we get back. You know, I was like, no one knew that it was going to be not 3-4 days a week. Like, no one knew. It was such a day-by-day case at that point. But when we got back, we were like, all right, so let's figure out what's next. We don't know. And then we dove right into we got home and acted like we were still on tour because we were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
So how do you do that? How does one do that?
Well, you know, for us, like, so I come from the place of doing all this stuff by myself, but AJK, my drummer, works in production, and you know, his whole job relied on 1,000+ people being in their place at the same time. And but he did, you know, live sound. He's done a lot of video. He's done a lot of live streaming work over the years. He's besides his own like video game streaming, he you know, he's done live streams for SJC Drums, where he did one with Danny Hammer from Incendiary. He did one for Matt Greiner from August Burns Red. And so he's done a lot of production work. And so we got home and we were just like, we had always talked about doing something called, at the time, shakeout sessions, where we would try to like do live sessions and bring friends on. And like that was the idea at the time, right? And it's shifted a lot since we've been doing now. But we kind of just got home and we were like, we have a bunch of gear. We have cameras. We have stuff. Can we figure out how to live stream to YouTube or Twitch? Or we didn't know at the time. At that point, we were like, can we figure out how to go live? And yeah, we just started building it and we started doing it. And in July, we went live 5 days a week. And a lot of those nights when we were on Twitch, we played to one person or two people. No one watched. No one cared. But we learned. Again, like we were okay with sucking. We were okay at just being like, this is going to suck. It's going to sound bad. It's going to drop out sometimes. It's going to, you know, things are going to happen and we're just going to have to adapt and get better. Needless to say, the first one we did was awesome. And like, it didn't sound the best, or it's gotten way better, obviously, since then. But the first one we did was pretty cool. And we just stuck to saying we have to do this at least once a week. And we've never missed a week. And then, like I said, in July, we went 5 days a week. 5 days a week, we were going live every single night. Just go live, and see what happens. And then in that also,
I was seeing that notification a lot where I would just be scrolling Instagram and go, Shakeout just started a live video, and I was like, damn, again?
yeah, man, we were and we didn't even have plans half the time. We were just going live and just like trying to learn, like just learn every little skill we could, and yeah, man, it's paid off a lot, I think. And through that, you know, while AJ was handling all the production stuff, which, you know, I never. Like, figuring out stuff like this, cool. Like, but the stuff this guy's doing, I'm like, dude, I would have never been able to figure this out. He's on a whole other world, like, with what he knows. And so that's been amazing help. Like, he kills it. And then I was like, all right, so what do I do? And my job was just to learn how to market a band and how to, you know, like, really use the internet to do that, which is not something, like, it's stuff we all used, but I really wanted to learn how to do it. Like, I wanted to, like... That's what I've dedicated my whole last year to doing, was like, how do I do this? And I started by hearing about TikTok, which at the time when I made my account in April or May or whenever I made it, it was like, everyone was like, oh, that's a bunch of 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Why would you make that? And I was just like, I don't know. People are looking at this shit, right? Like, people are paying attention to it, whether I don't care how old they are, right? And I started sucking at making videos on there. I sucked, but I've made over 900 TikTok videos and amassed 33,000 followers. And just by doing it, I got up every day and my mission was like, all right, let me just make these and figure it out. I'm just going to make TikTok videos and figure this out. And it's taught me so much just through, I mean, other things too. Through that, I spent a couple $1,000s past year running Facebook and Instagram ads, just trying to learn how to do that. And then, you know, I've done other things too, but that taught me a lot about storytelling, like in TikToks, like this short form thing. And then it was cool because I learned this skill. And then now, you know, they launched Instagram Reels. And then I was just like, well, I know this skill now. By the time they launched Instagram Reels, I was like, I already have like 20,000 followers on this other thing that does that. So I just started literally taking the videos and just moving them to Instagram and then making new ones and moving them. And then was able to build a little bit more on there. And then I just realized how all these like skills translated, because now I can make YouTube videos. Now I can make all these other things that are a little bit longer, but I actually, for the first time, understand how to make a video that like actually tells you something and makes you want to watch it, as opposed to I think most bands or most people in general use these tools to like market in a way where they're always trying to sell you something. And I don't
Yeah.
and I learned that that's not what you do. People want to follow you because they're interested in the thing, not because they feel like they're being sold on a thing all the time.
Oh, for sure. Even if I see an ad for something that I need, I'm like, ew, don't put this in my face.
Right. Right.
Like,
And
I know
that's-
I need that, but
Yeah,
get out
it's
of
about
here. I'll get
offering
it when I
value.
want it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's it. It's the value. You know, it's like we've had an Instagram ad running for months now, every day that I run like $1 on it a day or $2 a day, and it gets like 6-cent link clicks where I'm seeing other bands that are like running they're like, check out our song on Spotify. Mine is me spit taking and going, whoa, do you like rock music? And like it's me just being goofy.
That's awesome.
I don't even say check out the band or anything, but people swipe up and go check out the band because
So-
I just learned that skill of like you got to just catch people and not sell them. That's what marketing is, you know.
Totally. So, like I'm going to give an example right now of like offering value. A lot of our audience are people who kind of want to do what you're doing, AJ, take this entertainment industry by the reins and do it for themselves. So, I mean, what have you learned running Google ads? I know a lot of people have sunk hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars into them and got nothing. What have you done that you think is different? I know you kind of spoke about showing more of your personality, saying less of like, hey, like our song and listen to our song because we paid money to put this in front of you now, as opposed to just posting about it normally. But is
Yeah,
there
less
anything
of a
more there,
pitch.
anything deeper that you think you'd be comfortable imparting with people?
Oh, I'm comfortable telling anybody anything, man. I've tried to. I want to teach these things to people because I think it's super valuable, man. Like you can, I think there's no competition. Like that's not a thing. Like especially now in music, like everyone can do something in music now. There's enough space for all of us to do a thing and be successful and have a good time doing the thing we're doing.
That's such a big thing to remember. It's like always
Yeah.
being like, oh, well, why should I do that when there's like 10 people doing it really well? It's like, well, because there are 100,000 people watching those 10 people being like, all right, what else?
Right. There's
Like,
enough
Everybody
space for
gets
everybody.
bored.
Yeah. So I mean, little like I guess I could tell you like tips like if you're making short form videos, especially like an Instagram story ad, if you want like general tip like that, is the first second matters. Whatever
Okay.
whatever happens
Yup.
in the first second of that video really matters. Me spit taking and saying whoa is gonna stop you for a second, and it popping up in big letters is gonna stop you for a second,
Okay,
as
so a little
opposed to
editing
me.
there.
Right, you're making TikToks. You don't start your TikTok with, "Hey, yo, what's up? I'm AJ." No one gives a shit. You start your TikTok with the thing that you're trying to show them in that video. That is
Yup.
what matters. So there's little tips like that. Anything in a video that doesn't need to be in a video shouldn't be. If you could cut things out, like if you were to clip a podcast and like we have the conversation, but I said too many, if there's like a brief pause or like if you're trying to make this into a 15-second reel clip, I would take literally the best 15 seconds of the point you're trying to make, and that's it. Like basically whatever I say that you don't need, that's what you take out.
Trim the fat.
Trim the fat on anything. Instagram, people watch that without their volume on, so I think captioning your videos is super important on Instagram.
Dude, yeah, that blows my
Very
mind.
cool.
Like in my brain, I'm like, I'm not getting everything in the video, but there's so many people I know. They're like, oh, I never turn the volume on, and I'm like,
I don't.
what are you talking about?
I don't.
It's crazy.
Nope.
And Chris is one of them.
Yep. When you're watching Instagram stories, you're passively doing it, and if it doesn't, the text isn't there, people might not get the message of what you're trying to say. So
Exactly.
Right.
whatever. And then I think just making it really, I think another big thing is knowing who you're talking to is huge. Like
Yeah, knowing your audience.
knowing your audience is massive. If you don't know who you're trying to communicate with, it's a lot harder to create contextual content for those people. And then I mean there's so many things you could go into, but like I think all of those are really big. Just knowing who you're talking to and then figuring out the best way to communicate what you want to say to them in an authentic way that's just you and isn't anyone else, and not being scared to suck.
That's such a big one that I
Very true.
struggle with all the time. I'm like, I could start doing this thing, but I don't know enough, and I know it's going to be hard. So maybe I'll just wait until I know more about it. But then, like, you never know enough.
No, you'll never, and you only learn by, like I said before, like by doing.
Right.
And I think in this day and age, like people go, well, quality versus quantity, and I really actually think that it's especially when you're learning something, it's quantity. quantity, 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 because you learn from quantity. You learn by making my first 150 TikTok videos. I swear to God, I only got 100 followers, dude. I made 150 videos and I couldn't figure it out, but I started clicking because and I only got that way because I made, and then I would see what got reactions. I would see which ones did get something, and then I'd start to understand. And my next 150 videos got me to 20,000 followers.
Determination.
Never, just not saying, "Oh, I suck at this. I'm done."
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Like you have to.
It's
just
not. It's not about, hey, this isn't working, I'm bad. It's okay. This isn't working. What should I learn? What should I improve on? What do I adjust?
Yeah,
And that's another thing to bring it back to sort of the punk roots. I mean, for every good show we played, opening up for Bayside and Set Your Goals, right? How many shows did you go to? The booker said, this is going to be fucking fire, to put it in
Dude,
modern terms.
yeah.
This is going to be an insane show. We got this local band with a huge draw from Pennsylvania, this local band with a huge draw from Connecticut, and we're all coming to this random spot in West Virginia. It's going to be lit, and you get there and there's no one, but you still put on the same show that you would give to a room of 200 people.
And even on those pop shows, like on this band that I toured with, their last tour, like there was like, this is our farewell tour, and everybody obviously like, holy shit, I gotta go to this tour, I'll never see this band ever again. There was shows on the East Coast, on the West Coast, that were like sold out, 300 people, 400 people at these venues or whatever, and then you get to like the middle of America and it's their last tour and everyone's like, oh, we're so excited. You get to a show and there's 6 people. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. We just played to 300 screaming people 2 days ago. And now we're here and there's like 6 people that are like, are you guys the headliner or are you guys the headliner? And I'm like, what? And it's just, you got to take it all. You got to take it all together.
Dude, but all those moments are learning moments, and I think that a lot of people get down by that. But the reality is, like, you can't, it's the people, like you said, the lifers, man. Like, I will do this if no one watches me do it. I don't care. Like, it's cool that I've like figured out, oh wow, I've amassed a little bit of a following now. Like on the internet, like I have a following of people now on the internet that do not know me and have no bias towards me. Before this year, I would argue that most of my friends were the people that really liked the bands that I were in, and like I knew the people and they were in my community or whatever. But like now it's people I don't know, and they don't have to like me or give a shit about what I'm doing. But with that being said, even if that didn't happen, I'd still be going. I'd still be doing it. Like I think it's just like people don't have the patience to just love what you're doing in the moment of doing it, and love the learning process and love that part of it, because if you can really learn to fall in love with that part, it gets pretty easy, man. Like it's not hard to be a lifer, you know? Like you just
love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
Exactly. I don't it's cool to see growth. It's cool to see all that. It's amazing. But at the end of the day, like, I'm going to do this whether no one's watching or not. So or listening or whatever.
The fact that you're doing it because you love it, like there's no way to not translate that. And it's so, even if it's like kind of hard to tell, you can always tell if it's just fake. Like if they're not there because they want to be there, kind of thing, you know? So like I'm a firm believer that if you're a great example. You're not doing this to become a super famous internet musician. Like you're not trying to be like, yes, everyone will think internet musician, AJ, he was the greatest that ever lived. Like you're just trying to do what you love to do and have fun doing it. And then if people join you along the way, then fantastic. And those people that find it are like, wow, this guy loves what he's doing. I love this. Like if you do it authentically and you love it, like people will come and people will support you. That's just what I think.
My podcast is called Be Yourself, Do It Yourself, because it's all about just doing shit yourself.
Of course it is.
And 100% being yourself in that process. If people don't like phonies, man. Like, or if you are phony, you'll get shut out real quick, man. Like anyone that's phony, it gets cut out real quick. People will know. Maybe not right away. Maybe you grow a thing, but if you're being phony, it doesn't sustain.
One of the things I always do is I ask, like, like probably my 15 closest friends, closest people in my life. I was like, hey, so first of all, if you haven't been listening, I'm not pressuring you to listen, but I just want to know, like, what's the difference between podcast Chris and regular Chris? And so far, they've always said there is no difference. The second they say that is the second I'm going to have a big conversation with myself. I think that is 100% important. You know what I mean? To keep that sort of genuine nature there, because, you can pay for ads and get 150,000 views, but who's the person behind that? You know, like
Right,
why
exactly, yeah.
are you paying for all those views? You know, there's
Right.
so
We
you just
could
gotta make sure.
if we had the money, we could obviously blast all of our YouTube videos in front of everybody on YouTube and get millions of views, and to someone who doesn't know anything would be like, "Wow, they're doing a really good job." But then like you watch it and you stick with it and they're like, "These guys why do they get all these views? Like it's weird."
Yeah,
And then it just fizzles out and everyone forgets about you.
Exactly.
That's
dude.
why there are billions of one-hit wonders in the world, because they got their shot and they did it and they're like, "Cool, I'm doing it." And then everyone was like, "Oh, but you're not going to do it again because you don't want to."
There's no shortcuts to longevity.
Mm-hmm.
For
Oh
sure.
yeah.
There's no shortcut to that. There's no you're gonna have some viral moment that's gonna change your life. And like, yes, that happens, but like the reality is that most people that happens to, when they have the song that finally takes, they worked like 20 years to get there. Or like
Yeah, for sure.
and like even and the reality too is like, you know, in the idea of marketing, right? When you think of marketing, there is this idea of a funnel, right? And at the top of the funnel is the people outside of the funnel is the people that have never heard of you. At the top of that funnel is people that are aware. And you have to work people down, and why it's a funnel is because less and less people will work down to the steps of being like there for your community and like wanting to be a part of your community. They're all the way at the bottom of that funnel, those people, and you have to drive people through like giving them awesome stuff, like we were saying, value, like providing something awesome for them to want to be a part of that. And there's no shortcut to that. Getting a viral video, cool. I've had them on TikTok. I've had videos that have hit a couple 100,000 views. It's just mass awareness at the top. It's people now
Right.
heard about you.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you have to do the work to like actually get them to really care and like it. And like that's it's cool that you just got mass awareness with running an ad. You're getting mass awareness, but you're not driving people to listen to the podcast every single weekend.
Yes. Dude,
Yes.
that's
Or week,
that's
you
a
wanna
big
say?
one. That's a
Couldn't
big
agree
one that
more.
I think people, including myself, really don't like think about too different. Is like you get like the Stash, our old band, is a great example. Like we had a video and we like paid money for Google ads and like placed it places and it got like over 100,000 views, and we were like, dude, this is freaking awesome. Like 100,000 people have seen our video, they know our band. But that's, like you said, it's mass awareness. That doesn't equal them being like, I'm a fan of this band. They're just like, that was a cool video, click, move on. But like you have to
Yeah.
give them something either in the video, after the video, before the video, something afterwards to be like, hey, but keep engaged, I can give you that fun feeling again.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, which is why I think, especially in the internet age, where like we all consume so much in a day now, like we all consume so much
Yeah.
content. You have to. That's why I said people say, "Oh, but quality over quantity." Honestly, no. It's It's both, but it's a quantity game, and I think overjudging what quality is. I think
Yeah.
me going on using my phone to just tell you a cool story is quality, because if the story is interesting, it's cool. That was quality.
The
That
pros
doesn't-
can give
that
you,
doesn't-
yeah,
That
the
doesn't
pros
mean,
give you both.
Right.
Dude,
The
and I
pros give you
mean,
both.
in
but
in a
So-
weird in a weird kind of example, like even just look at Vine. Like some of the biggest Vines obviously are like really produced, well written, like that they planned it, but then the other ones are just like some dude picking up his phone being like, ha, free Shavakadu. And it's
Dude.
just, if it was funny.
Dude, some of my biggest videos on TikTok, I would say out of the 800 videos I've made on that, at least 500 of them were made with this device right here.
Yeah.
With my phone.
Ain't that something?
Turn the flip to the front, and I use the camera in the TikTok app. And
Yeah.
that,
A less good camera too. The front flip,
yeah, front flip, I'm an iPhone 7.
amazing.
Ooh,
But
7.
A 7, dude. But the reality is, like, that's what my point of quality. Like, quality is subjective. Quality is the words coming out of your mouth, the story you're telling, the thing you're saying. You could be a perfectionist and try to. That's what I used to do. Like, everything has to be high quality, great. Or you can just bust out as many cool stories as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and you will see faster growth. I guarantee it, because information is way too fast moving. If you spend an hour, 2 hours making a video that 10 people are going to see, you could have spent that same hour making 5 videos.
Right.
Right.
So AJ, I have 2 more beats that I kind of want to hit
Do
on
it.
your journey here. And we'll link everything that you just spoke about, all your different platforms, TikTok, Twitch, in the description below, so you guys can go check out Shakeout and AJ's personal accounts. You, though, played or not played, but I actually don't know if you played it or not, but you at least were in a garage with a rock and roll icon, and he played a set and there was firemen there. The details of the story are fuzzy.
True.
I'm kind of curious. You
If you
met
want-
Dave Grohl in a garage.
If you want proof of the photo, just look at
You're-
that's one of Shakeout's like single artworks for something, right?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
did a
The
cover
cover
of,
of the Pretender.
of the Pretender. It's on
Amazing,
YouTube.
by the way.
And
Great cover.
I used the
Mm.
picture of me and Dave Grohl as the artwork. But
That's such a good picture.
with a
Talk
cell
about
phone.
that day, man.
Oh,
So-
it's
Talk
so
about that.
good.
How did
Cell
that even
phone.
happen?
Okay, so 2011, 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Mm.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's gross. I graduated high school in 2011.
Me too. Yeah.
Hey, one's up.
Hey, yeah, 2011, the Foo Fighters did 8 garage shows, and it was like you had to enter a picture of your garage in 25 words why they should play there.
I remember that. I saw their little like video compilation thing on a couple of them.
Yep.
I guess I
And-
missed yours.
Yeah, ours is on there. It's on YouTube. You can watch there's tons of footage that was like professionally filmed from that day. So my best friend John Sipa, who I was talking about, who we grew up playing together, his dad entered the contest, and out of the like whatever 100,000, 50,000, 100,000 people that entered in the tri-state area, picked his garage in Yonkers, and he had 50 people that he was allowed to invite, and we were all told a week beforehand. And weren't allowed to say anything because if people showed up, it was a bust. It was in the contract that like no one could show up to this thing that wasn't part of those 50 people. So we all had to keep real hush. We couldn't post on the internet about it or be like, "Oh, the Foo Fighters are coming to play." I had to be dead silent about the fact that the Foo Fighters are going to be playing in my friend's garage.
And if you've been listening to AJ describe his life, you have to imagine that he was a huge Foo Fighters fan, and he had to know at least a couple other huge Foo Fighter fans.
Oh yeah, dude, I saw them at Madison Square Garden the year before, and then I was
Nice.
like, and now I'm like, yo, we're about to go.
Oh my gosh!
And now I'm like, yo, we're gonna see them where we practice. We have band practice here. Like we're about to see the Foo Fighters there.
Dude, you're like venue cousins with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, man. But yeah, so he lives 2 blocks from me, and I had to go down. They made us meet at a hotel that's like kind of close to here, and then we got bussed over, and everybody that got off the bus was allowed to go into the show, and there was security at the bottom of the garage, and so speaking of the firefighter thing, his dad was a retired New York City firefighter who retired after 9/11 because he had a lot of issues with his breathing.
Mhm.
And so yeah, there was a bunch of firefighters there, which is cool. My dad was a police officer, and he actually gave up his spot so he could work it because they had to have 3 cops there. So he gave up his spot so he could work it, and he could just actually still go in, which was funny. So my dad's there rocking a Yonkers Police Department jacket, and Dave Grohl at one point in the set goes, "We thought the cops might shut this down, but the cops are all here." And then they flip the camera to my dad. My dad's like, "Yeah, turn that
That's
shit up,
amazing.
turn that shit up," like screaming.
Oh my god, your dad is so cool.
but yeah, man, it was a crazy time. I don't know, 50 of us in a garage. They sounded amazing.
How long is the set?
Like almost 2 hours they played. They didn't,
Unreal.
They didn't care, dude. They said whatever you want to see us play, we'll play. Like it wasn't. They weren't like. Oh,
Unreal.
it wasn't on. They were on no type of rock star shit at all, man.
Right.
They stopped.
It wasn't like we're gonna come in, we'll play you your 5 singles, and we'll take
Right.
pictures, and we'll go.
Nope. They hung out. They were like, "How you guys want us to play more? What do you want to hear? What are we playing?" They played for like 2 hours, man, and then they took pictures and hung out afterwards, and like we were all chilling in the yard, and Dave Grohl's there, and I'm like, Taylor Hawkins, and all these guys are just chilling. Cool.
Unreal.
Took pictures and hung out.
I'm getting like anxious and like nervous just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah,
It
this
was
is amazing.
it was so cool, and so afterwards, it was funny enough. John is super Italian, and his dad is super Italian, and he had dried meats hanging in the garage because he used the garage to like dry his meats.
Yes.
And Dave Grohl talked about it on Conan. He's like, "Yeah, I was in this guy John's garage in Yonkers, and he had the salamis and the prosciuttos hanging up in the back."
Oh, I'm looking that up.
That's amazing. Wow. That's
Yeah,
so cool, dude.
It was really awesome, man. It was
Wow.
one of the best show I've ever been to. The best show I'll probably ever go to.
What an experience. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine what that must have been
Yeah,
like.
nothing. I can't think of any musical experience that could really top that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so cool, man. And then that's why we did the cover, kind of our style, 2-piece looping, But I
Mhm.
wanted to tell that story. I was like, we got to tell that. That's like such a cool,
Yeah.
unique story, and I want to put a YouTube video out where we talk about it.
It was badass, man. And the last thing I kind of wanted to bring up is, speaking of defying the odds, and never ceasing to persevere. Like, I think the Foo Fighters were a great segment into this. I mean, at that level, they had no reason to go and play garages other than the fact that, like, hey, they're passionate and they love what they do, and they're going to play a show. They doesn't matter who's there, how many people, where it is. And you're kind of doing the same thing. You have a little bit of an event coming up at the end of the month, and you've been promoting it. Keep Flying's involved, and I want to let you take the reins on it because you're persevering in COVID times. Like we said, continuing to bring content and amazing music out to people in these like crazy times. So talk about it, man. What's going on?
Yeah, so AJK and I, we recently launched a company called Livest, and why it's called Livest is this: we think it is going to be the most live and engaging live streams that anyone can see, the livest, if you will,
The most live.
the most live. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously, like I said, we've gone live at this point. I don't know, a lot of times this year. We went live as a full band a lot of times. We never missed a week, and there was weeks that we went multiple times. And through that process, we learned a lot. Whether there was one person there or whether there's 50, 60, 70, 100 people there, we've learned a lot about doing it, and we see how every band wants to make that happen, but the reality behind it is that the bands that are doing it are the bands that can really afford to do it, because it's about a $10,000 to $20,000 investment to hire a company to come and put this kind of production on for you. So our goal is we're doing virtual ticketed events, and we are trying to produce live streams for bands that can't afford $20,000 live streams, but want to bring things to their fans. And
I'm sure there's a handful of bands out there that want to do that and can't shell out $20,000.
exactly.
Probably a couple.
And just like the thing, like I said, what we've learned, we want to teach other people. Like, I'm not hiding anything. Like, I want to show everybody what to do and how to do this, and like we want to go.
Right.
And we've watched a couple of the pro live streams. I watched my friend Matt, the Wonder Years. We watched the Wonder Years live stream. We watched theirs was great, by the way. They did Blink 182 cover sets. It was on Halloween. It was amazing.
Nice.
We watched Pup did one. August Burns Red did one. The bands that can afford to do it have been doing it, and they've all been cool. But we definitely see that there's elements that are missing out of it that we are trying to produce in the engagement department of it. So we're trying to just engage people more, and I think that like our Twitch stream, we do goofy things where we see the chat live, and we're just interacting the whole time, and that's what we want to bring to the livest live streams. We want to bring that energy. That Keep Flying will be live on Saturday. The show will be live. It's not pre-recorded. You will be seeing it in real time, and you will chat, and they will see it. They will have a screen in front of them, all of them. So they can see it, and they can shout your name out, and they can put your name in a song if you want, and like that's the energy that I haven't seen on these live streams that we do every week, and we want to bring to the world and to bands that, like I said, can't afford to do this. We're doing this shit out of Peter's basement on Saturday. We're doing it out of their drummer's basement, and part of our job as Livest is to find the venue, and it so happened to work out that we could do it right in their practice space, but. We want to travel out to the band, and we want to help them create the experience for their fans that even when touring comes back, it's going to be really valuable. I don't think you'll ever get an experience like what we want to try to create with this. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
livest.tv if you want to check out the site. The first stream will be on Saturday, and we'll have a bunch of video and stuff afterwards, because I think that a lot of bands might really be interested in doing something like this.
Yeah, definitely. Where can they contact you if they want to be a part of that?
Yeah, you can just head on livest.tv if you want. We have it's LIVEST.TV is the website, and there's a contact form right on there.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Looking forward to it, man. Can't wait to see
for
it. Can't wait
sure.
to check it out. We love John. So
We do love John.
I love KF, man. Like I said, I'll be
All of
talking
them,
to
of
him in a
course.
True, yeah.
I'll be talking to him in a little bit on one of these. Yeah.
perfect. So yeah, AJ, man, before we let you go, is there any stone left unturned? Anything you want the people to know that we didn't quite cover here today?
No, thank you for having me. I love that you guys have done this, and I love that you guys continue to do this. And please
Thanks,
don't
man.
stop. Please don't stop.
We
Hey, man,
actually
we
do
won't.
actually have one more question for you that we
That's
ask
true.
every guest.
Okay. Hit me.
Well, basically, everyone that comes on the show, we ask them to describe themselves as a creative, creator, a musician, just someone who makes art. What would you describe yourself with one word? And then you can elaborate on that word afterwards and take as much time as you need. Like you said, we can edit it out if you want to take a second.
We won't,
Um,
but we can.
we won't because we never have, but we can. Uh,
But yeah, what's the one word
so
that comes to mind if you had to think about yourself and then further
Oh.
elaborate on it? Like when you speak to yourself, what's your inner monologue tell you?
Oh man. Well, my inner monologue sucks because it doesn't stop. I have AD. I have ADD, like actually. So
hey,
my brain doesn't stop speaking to me. Non-stop.
hyphenated words are one word. That's true.
Non-stop. Let's go with that. I think that's my word. My brain doesn't turn off. There is no the ideas always flow. I have gotten better over time at learning how to prioritize them.
Amazing. That's so cool. We've never had that one before. That's awesome, dude. I love it. AJ, dude, real quick before we let you go, tell everyone once again where they can find you, where they can keep up to date with Shakeout, Livest, and anything else that you want them to know. Don't be bashful. Now's your time. Just let them know everything, and we'll link it in the description as well on YouTube and in the audio show notes. So go ahead, man.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah. Shakeout NY on all the platforms for the band. We're on YouTube, Twitch. We're everywhere. We're a band that's everywhere. We got a podcast coming out soon.
They really are everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
And they're probably live when you find them.
Yeah, so Shakeout NY. My personal stuff is just my name, A.J Chiarella. And Livest. Yeah, Livest is our new thing. Please, if you guys are interested in just live music in general, we're really going to try to create awesome, engaging events, and we're hoping to build a community out of it too. It's not the idea of like we're gonna just do a show for someone and then we're gonna go do the show for someone else. We want to build a Livest community. We want people to like are interested in what's going on there. So, livest.tv. All our social medias are on the website. If you want to just find them there, we're on everything.
LIVEST.TV, right?
That's it. That's the website.
Awesome. AJ Chiarella, man, thank you again for joining us so much. This was an absolute blast, dude. Glad we got to do it.
Thank you guys so much again for having me. I really, really, really appreciate it.
For sure, man. This will be the first of many times, hopefully.
Yes.
So,
and I don't know if it's actually longer, but it's at least getting up to tying our longest episode yet.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a talker.
No. That was we say
man.
it so many episodes, but like this really, I think I learned the most in this episode of just like doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Hey,
Luckily, I have Chris
glad.
doing it for the both of us, but now I'm gonna start doing some more stuff.
There you
Yeah.
go.
We'll hold you to that.
I love
Cool.
that.
So, AJ, man, thank you once again. We really appreciate your time, dude. Good luck with everything. It was great to catch up with you, man. We miss seeing you in person. This was fun.
Yeah,
for sure.
Likewise. Hopefully, I'll see you guys this year at some point.
For sure. So, Andrew, dude, why don't you tell everyone before we head out of here about what we do, where it is they can find us, and maybe if there's a final message you have for the people, too. That'd be great.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Well,
No
if
problem.
if you're listening to this on audio, we love you, but we would really love it if you would come watch us on YouTube because A, helps us out the most, and B, come on, I washed my hair for this. It looks good, and I just want more people to see when I have a good hair day. So please subscribe to our YouTube, like the videos. It's youtube.com/talkin with Andrew and Chris. There's no G in talking because we don't got time for that. There it is right there. We're putting up, we got all our episodes. Look at that. Come on. You listen to it, but it's better than listening to it because then you're hanging out
we have
with us.
thumbnails now, so click on them.
We've got visual
trying.
bits. It's a good time. And then while you're there, you could check right below that. You can see it says Talkin TV. Might as well subscribe to that one too. Chris and Dom do a lot of fun stuff over there. I pop
Thanks,
over there
Andrew.
from time to time.
Appreciate that.
And if you're one of our favorite people and you're watching this on YouTube, guess what? You can listen to us too if you need a break. If you need to get going and you want to finish the episode, then just pop it in your ear. We're on all of the digital streaming platforms. Talking with Andrew and Chris. Spotify, Apple Music, Radio Public, Stitcher. Dude, AJ, you rock.
Thanks,
AJ's
AJ.
the coolest guy. AJ, just subscribe to our YouTube channel. But also
Stitcher, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Play. You name them, we're there.
we're there.
Guys,
We're
we
also on all of the social medias at
oh,
Talkin
true.
Podcast.
That's a
So
good call,
follow
Andrew.
us, talk to us, let us know who you want us to talk to, what you want us to talk about. And you know, I would love to do that. So tell me what to talk about, and I can
Yeah.
talk about it.
And no, seriously, guys. Like we know, last year was a bit of a rocky road for us in regards to doing the podcast and music and all that. It hit hard, but we're here for you. This is 3 for 3, and we are promising you 150, not 100, 56 episodes this year. Although we already have plans for
156 episodes would be pretty
we
nutty.
might hit it though because we're upping the content this year. We have plans for so many different types of extra shows that
It's
are going to
true.
take place exclusively on the YouTube channel. And hey, 56 weeks, 56 podcasts. We're already 3 for 3, and we can't wait to. We have a whole slew of guest book for the next few months. Me and Andrew are going to be talking about some football, the new Foo Fighters record. So we're here. We're here for you guys. And of course, we're working on music as well. We're getting back to it this year. So expect a lot from us, guys, because we're here for you. You guys were here for us when we took time off. You guys continue to still listen
True.
and check out the back
So
catalog.
crazy.
So we're here for you. And we appreciate it. And with that being said, thank you so much. We love you. We hope you're having a great start to your new year. And Andrew, do you have a
Yes.
final message for the people here today?
Um, subscribe to everything that Shakeout and AJ are doing, and also stay sweet.